ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. TinChattin. Mike Maahs has accompanied us here in the studio he's got this beautiful baby blue polo on, and you can't see it underneath the desk. Some awesome pink shorts to go with it. Mike, you brought it today, my friend. You ready to go?
Yes, I am ready to go. Let's talk some TinCaps baseball.
And you know what? It almost feels a little bit like Groundhog's Day with this team this year. It seems like every week we're kind of talking about the same thing. They were on a roll last Friday, then they lose 2 straight against Dayton, start the road trip against Lansing with a couple of wins, and are in a great position last night to make it 3 straight wins on the road, and then the wheels fall off late.
Unfortunately, it was not the best of nights for right-handed relief pitcher Austin Smith. Came into the game in the bottom of the 7th inning. The TinCaps were on top 3-1. Gave up a run in the 7th. Still a 3-2 TinCap lead going to the bottom of the 8th. And before you know it, 5 runs came across. And unfortunately for Austin Smith, he committed a crucial throwing error on a bunt attempt. And that enabled the base runners to reach base, advance, and again, 5-run bottom of the 8th inning spelled defeat for the TinCaps last night.
There obviously have been stretches of the season where the bullpen has cost the TinCaps dearly in certain spots, and obviously last night was another example of that. And Mike, a little bit of more of a blow to the bullpen when you're talking about one of their more consistent guys this year had been Carter Lowen. He's no longer going to be an option for Anthony Contreras late in games, as unfortunately it was announced earlier this week. He is done for this season and also next season as he goes on the shelf with Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, you hate to see that happen to anybody. And Carter was exciting on the mound. At one time, he was leading High A Central in saves. And a lot of velocity on his fastballs, mid-90s, maybe up to 97 or so. But he was just exciting. He just had this, what's the term I'm looking for, this air about him. But hopefully, when the surgery takes place, it'll be successful. Then comes the rehabilitation. And as he said, he's hopefully looking forward to coming back perhaps in 2023.
Yeah, and obviously it's going to be a long road back, but, you know, we wish him the best of luck in his rehab and recovery. But, you know, a bullpen that's already lacking depth now takes another hit, and we'll see moving forward who's able to step into that closer role and hopefully be a consistent end-of-game guy for Anthony Contreras. Mike, transitioning to the hitting side of things, our guest this week is actually, we've talked to a lot of players over the last couple of months here on TinChattin. We thought it was time to give the coaching staff some love. So our guest this week is hitting coach Jonathan Mathews. Mike, a guy who's been here for a few years now. Baseball is in his blood. His dad, Rick, has worked in the game at the professional level for decades now. He now works for the Colorado Rockies, as you'll hear. Jonathan's son is now, in a way, following in his footsteps. And it was a big week for Jonathan as a dad, and that's where we start off our conversation with TinCaps hitting coach Jonathan Mathews.
It's been awesome. Yeah, you know, 2 nights ago, my son, we were listening after our game got over here. They were, you know, live streaming audio of his game, and he ended up getting a walk-off double to get him to the championship game. And so the whole staff was in there listening, and it was awesome. And then he got to play in the state championship game yesterday. He pitched, which just makes me a nervous wreck. I ended up getting beat, but it was an awesome experience for him. And yeah, you know, it's kind of turned into a 3-generational thing, or it's turning into that. But you know, honestly, I never felt any pressure to follow in anybody's footsteps necessarily. And my son, I don't feel like he does either. I think he genuinely just loves kind of the game, and he loves his teammates. And I couldn't be more proud of kind of how that's coming about.
Yeah. So for you growing up, obviously your dad, you know, worked in professional baseball and worked in college baseball as well. So I would imagine it's like you said, there's no pressure necessarily, but it's probably pretty hard not to fall in love with baseball when you grow up like that, no?
Yeah, my mom was a kindergarten teacher, and so whenever school would get out, my sister and my mom and I, we would head to wherever Dad was. At the time when I was young, he was working for the Kansas City Royals and managing and in their minor league system, and so we would pack up when school got out, and we'd go live in Fort Myers or Memphis or Charleston, South Carolina. And that's kind of how we grew up. I grew up riding on the bus in the minor leagues, and I kind of been doing it since I'm 12, and now I'm going to be 50 before too awful long, and I'm still doing it. So, yeah, it's been a wonderful life.
So, your dad now works for the Colorado Rockies still, correct?
That's right.
So you guys are, I mean, obviously you're working for the Padres organization. He's working for the Rockies. What's that like, father-son dynamic, when you're kind of competing and working for rival organizations?
We happen to be playing each other in the big leagues right now too. So last night in the clubhouse, I was catching some flack about, because the Padres haven't done very well against the Rockies historically, it seems like. And so some of the guys are teasing me about giving away scouting reports and some of that stuff. But it's, we both happen to be working for teams in the National League West, but I don't know. We don't talk much about, inside things, really at all. But we both just kind of, put our heads down and go to work and nose to the grindstone kind of thing. That's how he grew up, and that's kind of how I was raised, and that's kind of how we go about our business.
What does a typical day look like for you, and kind of explain for those who don't know kind of what your role is with the organization?
Yeah, so, well, I'm the hitting coach here in Fort Wayne. And so on any given day, like today, for instance, we happen to be on the road today, but like if we have a home game, the games are usually at 7:05, usually get to the ballpark by 12:30. I think a lot of people don't realize that there's a work day for us. It's not like we show up at 6 o'clock for a 7:05 game, So I usually go to the ballpark about 12:30, but usually in the mornings I'll get on my computer and I'll kind of break down the starting pitcher that we're going to face that night. And there's so much information, like, people talk about spin rate and all the metrics. We have access to all of that stuff. So I'll get on and I'll look at some of that stuff. Then I'll watch video on the starting pitcher so I can sort of help to start prepare a game plan for that guy for that night. Go to the ballpark about 12:30. A lot of times I'll have a couple of guys out early on the field to hit about 2 or so. We start our work day. So then I'll have guys in the cage, and then we do a batting practice, and get ready for the game that night.
You've got some other things on your resume other than baseball coach, I've been told. You've got a few other jobs a few other hats that you wear, shall we say?
Yeah. So my little small town newspaper went out of business a year or so ago, and a friend of mine started this little media company. So which actually I love, because I get to listen to my kids play their sports, but he live streams the local high school sports, and does some things like that. So in the process of doing that, he also decided that he wanted to start up again kind of a little, like a weekly newspaper. Well, it was during the COVID last summer, and so he asked me, he said, "Hey man, you're not doing anything this summer, really, are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm sitting here with a bobber in the water in my pond." And so he asked if I would write the sports articles. And I told him, I said, "Yeah, until you can find somebody that can string 2 sentences together, I'll do it." Well, then so I started doing it. Well, now I'm still doing it. So after we get off the thing here, I've got to write an article about my son's state championship game yesterday for the weekly newspaper. So yes, I'm a very novice sports journalist, I guess.
Our thanks to Johnny again for joining us. Really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully you guys did too. And Mike, now as we look ahead to what's next for this team, obviously the road trip continues. They'll stay in Michigan after the completion of the Lansing series, make their way over to Great Lakes for 6 more, and then back to Parkview Field for, hard to believe, Mike, the first of the final 3 home series of the year. Just 18 home games remaining in downtown Fort Wayne this year.
18 home games, counting this game tonight in Lansing, 27 road games. And you briefly mentioned, Peter, about the fact that the TinCaps are going to stay on the road next Monday. And it'll be interesting to see what they may or may not do. I remember a road trip a while back where the team ended up going bowling just to get away and not think about baseball at all. And I still have the sore thumb to use as a memory on that.
Mike Maahs, the play-by-play voice of the Fort Wayne TinCaps. Appreciate you stopping by as always, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. Hood.
Again, he's Mike, I'm Peter. Appreciate you as always making us a part of your Friday night, and we'll be back Same time, same place next Friday. Until then, stick around. We got much more coming up in the locker room right after this break.